Today on the TCMMA podcast, after a wild decision last night where many fans thought the wrong decision was made, one UFC fighter calls on Dana White to investigate these judges. We'll get into that. Also, Shavkat Rakhmonov has no one to fight. Bilal Muhammad is out. The title is off for UFC 310. So will Dricus Du Plessis and Khamzat Chimaev step in on short notice to save UFC 310? We'll explain why this may be or may not be possible. Also, Max Holloway plans a new chapter, full-time UFC lightweight move. Says he's done with the UFC or with the 145-pound division. Also, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, or maybe Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, depending on who you like better. We're going to give you that full fight prediction in detail. Stay tuned for all these topics and more. Next.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
What up, what up? This your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TC MMA podcast. So last night we had UFC Edmonton. Solid card, a lot of decisions though, especially with Rose Namajunas falling in 5 rounds. Looked great for 2, looked bad in the final 3. She lost that fight. Erin Blanchfield, credit her. And then Brandon Moreno just looked unbelievable in a 2 versus 3 matchup where he went 5 rounds and pretty much won all 5 rounds, at least according to 2 of the 3 judges. But the night was overshadowed again, man, by the judges. These judges, dog, these judges. Yeah, I mean, these judges are just going crazy. And the fight last night where people are up in arms was Sergey Sadeh versus Garrett Armfield. And we're going to play that reaction because I remembered at the time. I just don't know how serious I took it at the time. It was early in the card. So let's look at that reaction, and then we'll talk about what's going on. Final 5 seconds. And that'll do it. Sergey Sadeh and Garrett Armfield headed to a decision. And this fight went pretty much how I thought it would go. And that's Garrett Armfield being able to get the takedowns, control it that way, nearly 5 minutes of control time on 4 takedowns, only 5 attempts. So that's just a 20% takedown defense for Sergey Sadeh, and he outstruck him. But there were some big shots by Sergey Sadeh, so we'll see which way the judges go. But if you just look at the numbers, I mean, Garrett Armfield dominated in the numbers. But perception is everything. Here we go, as both guys come together. All-important decision here, bantamweight division. And as we've seen, excuse me, in recent weeks, you just never know what the judges are going to do. So here we go. Don't rob this man. Oh, it's going to be split. 29-28. 29-28. One for Armfield, one for Sadeh. 29-28. Oh, Sergey Sadeh gets the win. See what I'm saying? Oh, my goodness gracious. We need a scoring system. I mean, this is crazy. Armfield led with 4 takedowns, nearly 5 minutes of control. Head strikes 57-28. Significant strikes 71-57. 74-63. And total strikes, he led in every category and still loses the fight. Unbelievable. Sergey Sadeh picks up the win, though. He moves to 11-2, bantamweight division. UFC, Edmonton. Yeah, so, I mean, the fight wasn't really close. It wasn't close at all. But the judges give it to the wrong fighter. These judges, dog, these judges. So you can understand why people are up in arms. And then I believe it was, don't quote me on this, but I believe it was Garrett Armfield who said to Dana White, investigate these judges. Yeah, Armfield wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter. tagging both Dana White and Trump. Half my pay with this inflation. Someone call Trump. And don't worry, we're just a couple days away from the election. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Garrett Armfield is not happy. I don't even know if Dana White has the ability to investigate the judges. I don't know how that works because it's the commission, right, who picks those judges. So, and again, MMA is so much different than boxing. It's only 3 rounds, maybe 5, and you don't have time for the fight. Say that fight goes another 2 rounds and Armfield really starts to pour it on. He wins that fight easily by unanimous decision, and that very easily could have happened. But it's not enough rounds. So we need a scoring system, not like the one they're proposing where you see the judges' scorecards up, and the fighters can see. Not that. I'm talking about scoring for strikes. Just like you would do on an app when you're doing fantasy UFC and you're picking like 6 or 7 fighters and you get points for strikes and knockdowns and finishes in the first round. Well, of course, if you finish the fight, it's over. But there's just easy ways to do that. Control time, strikes, head strikes versus leg strikes versus body strikes. All those type of things. You can very easily get it done. But for some reason, it doesn't seem likely that that's going to happen. So we're on hold with that. But yeah, people are not happy. Now, last night, as far as the picks, we'll wrap this up real quick because it wasn't the most exciting night. But, we got the main event, right? We got the main event with Brandon Moreno. We lost the co-main event with Rose Namajunas falling. Branson Ribeiro beat Kyle Mikado. Jasmine Jasudavicius subbed Ariane De Silva in just a great night for the Canadians in Canada. Dustin Stoltzfus KO'd Marc-Andre Barriault. Also Mike Mallet won the fight. So all in all, we go 7-6 last night. And, just a solid night. I mean, 7-6 is not great, but we'll take it, right? We'll take a 7-6 record and winning the main event. So that's the way it goes down. And a lot of decisions before that. So kind of started off slow, picked up for a little bit, and then slowed down once again, where you had 10 straight rounds of fighting, but basically 2 decisions. So that wrapped it up for last night. But yeah, 7-6 on the night, 1-0 in the main event, and 7-6 is not great, but it's more wins than losses right now. That's all we're asking for. Excuse me. And we get the main event, which we crucially needed to move to 20-17 on the year with about 5 or 6 weeks left. Now, one of the big topics happening right now, and you probably haven't seen much of this on your end, but I've had some people write me, and I've seen or just heard people talking about this, is Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev at UFC 310. And this is happening, this story's coming because, or people are talking about this because Shavkat Rakhmonov has no opponent with Bilal Muhammad pulling out of the title fight. So the champion's out, so there's no title fight there. And people are wondering, well, maybe, this is the opportunity for Khamzat. He just fought, Du Plessis is fresh. They can both fight in a month and be ready. But even if Du Plessis was considering that, which would be good for him because Khamzat's just coming off the fight, and now he's, you want to fight a guy within a month of when he last fought, a month, 2 months later, right? You have an advantage in that situation, but Khamzat can't get in the country. This is why I don't understand why this storyline's coming out. This happens like, December 7th or early in December. Even if Trump wins the election, he's not inaugurated till February. And why is that important? Because a Trump win would allow Khamzat to get in the country to fight for the title, and that wouldn't happen till March or April. And the UFC can't even announce that fight till the election is over and confirm that Trump is going to be willing to do that. And I think Americans want to see that, right? So there's no way, 0 chance, at least as of right now. I don't see them moving the card to another country. Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev is not happening this year, ladies and gentlemen. But the good news is Du Plessis said, I want to fight Khamzat next. The UFC wants Sean Strickland. We'll see how it plays out. The people, I can tell you, want Khamzat. The people want Khamzat. And I want Khamzat. fight for the title, right? Please believe it. Max Holloway plans a new chapter, full-time UFC lightweight move, saying he's done with 145 pounds. And thank goodness, this is the right move for Max Holloway, right? And as he alludes to, he's getting older, it's harder to make weight. He's alluding to all those things we already know for a lot of fighters. But the reality is he looked great at 155 pounds and beat one of the top fighters in the division. Is he on the level of Islam Makhachev or Charles Oliveira or some of those guys? Probably not, right? Probably not. But still, he just beat a top contender in Justin Gaethje. So that's the move you need to make as you get later in your career. And, try to give yourself another 2 or 3 years with a potential title fight if you can win another fight or two. But again, that's where the rankings kind of cheated Holloway, because if he jumps up to 2 or 3, he's probably staying at lightweight. But because he didn't jump up that high, even though he beat a number 2 contender and everyone else jumps up that high, he's forced to go fight for the featherweight belt. And we now know that chapter is history, and it should be. So, in an article today, Mike Tyson becomes the heavy favorite against Jake Paul. No chance he beats Iron Mike. Right? This is according to McNeely, who Tyson once fought. Jake Paul has never, and he's talking to the U.S. Mirror, says Jake Paul has never fought a real professional or someone of Mike's caliber. I remember what it was like being hit by him, and just because you get older doesn't mean you lose that power. Yep, and Mike Tyson's still going to have that power, but how long that power lasts is the big question. But before we dive into this anymore, let's get to the full detailed prediction. And this is to the best of our ability. It's not like we're so used to UFC now. We have our intro and exit, and we have a routine. It's a little harder in boxing because the stats are just way different. But nonetheless, we do the best job we can. Check this out. In the heavyweight division, Jake Paul takes on Mike Tyson. And this is going to be an extremely exciting fight to watch, right? Jake Paul, still somewhat new in the game, but he's 10-1 with 7 KOs. Mike Tyson, 50-6, incredible, with 44 KOs, 88% finish rate. But he's also been KO'd 5 times and 6 losses. So Tyson either wins by KO or loses by KO about nearly 90% of the time. So when you look at these two, Jake Paul is going to be 3 inches taller at 6'1". Mike Tyson's 5'10". Jake Paul has a 5-inch reach advantage. Now, Mike Tyson's simple. The storyline, you guys all know. He hasn't fought in a long time. He lost his last 2 fights against Kevin McBride and Danny Williams after beating Clifford Etienne and also losing to Lennox Lewis. So he's lost 3 of the last 4 in a professional setting. Now, Jake Paul, you know pretty well too. He's coming off the, multiple wins, 4 straight wins after the Tommy Fury decision loss. Remember, he went to a decision in that fight. He's beaten Nate Diaz, Andre August, Ryan Boulard, and Michael Perry. So Jake Paul's beating everybody that's not a boxer. Mike Tyson's a boxer, but he's older, right? What is he, 57, 58 years old by the time of this fight? So can a 58-year-old really get in there with a 20-something-year-old and beat him? Well, sure he can, if the fight finishes early, right? So it's very tough to make a prediction in this fight because you got a clash of 2 different worlds. A younger fighter who doesn't have the experience that Mike Tyson has, but Mike Tyson is much older. Probably not going to have the cardio to go the full, length, even though the rounds are shorter, unless something has changed. So to me, it just comes down to, can Mike Tyson get the early finish? Well, of course he can. Am I going to bank on that? No, because Jake Paul just has to survive for about 2 or 3 rounds, 4 to 6 minutes before Tyson starts to come down. Now, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. Tyson's going to come in very energetic with all the energy in the world. He's probably going to be in the best shape of his life, especially for a 58-year-old. Not compared to his old self. He'll never be that again, right? I mean, it's just time takes care of that. But in terms of 58-year-old, he's going to be in tremendous shape, a lot of confidence. Anything is possible. But in my opinion, Jake Paul is going to win this fight late. round 6, 7, 8, something like that, he'll survive early and get the job done and move to 11-1. Will he get the finish? We'll see. But either way, in my opinion, Jake Paul wins this fight. He'll be 11-1. This is it. Paul versus Tyson. Stay tuned. Yeah, and in my opinion, I mean, as I said, Mike Tyson is not going to be able to hang with Jake Paul for the length of this fight. Does anybody believe that Mike Tyson's winning this fight by decision? If you do, please speak up. Now's the time. I certainly don't believe that. So if Tyson's going to win, it's going to be in rounds 1, 2, 3. And after that, it's a wrap. The fight is going to swing in Jake Paul's direction. All he has to do is survive. He just has to survive for like 4 to 6 minutes. And you would think early on in the fight, if you're Jake Paul, just move around, try to wear Tyson down. You don't have to win the first 3 rounds. Maybe you win 1 of the 3. You'll win the next 4 or 5 rounds after that. Or 4 of the 5 rounds and win 5 of 8 and win a decision. And that's how I see the fight going. It's real simple for me. Jake Paul is going to win this fight by decision or late TKO because Tyson runs out of gas. Mark my words. I'm not 100% confident because, you know, you're dealing with a striker and a KO specialist in Tyson, regardless of the age. He could still win, but I just don't see it happening. Tyson's going to run out of gas. That's just what I believe. That's my opinion. But now's the time to speak up. However, that'll do it for today's show. We wanted to get into some of the topics. What happened with the judges last night? It seems like the judges are just under fire right now from the fans, especially. Dana White, too. Dana White was at the press conference last night. He would have went crazy on him, but he wasn't there. So we'll have to stay tuned for that. But, yeah, I don't think an investigation's coming, but at the same time, the fans are not happy with the UFC. Listen, until next time, this is your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day, and God bless. As always, peace.